Hi. Hello from very snowy Blue Ash, kind of right outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. I just got here to where I'm staying um, just maybe an hour or so ago. I'm here for work this coming week for a contract project. Um, and then I came a couple days early, flew into Cincinnati, and then got a ride over to Ludlow, Kentucky, which is only like 20-ish, 30 minutes away from the Cincinnati airport, which I totally realized the night before my flight that I definitely should have driven from Chicago here. That may have been more straightforward, but did what I did, and here we are. But anyways, I got to Ludlow Friday, so I had a little bit of Friday, all day Saturday, and then this morning it felt like so much longer. It felt like I got sucked into like this amazing, crazy time machine almost during my time there. It was so good. I had an amazing experience throughout this trip so far. Have really soaked it all in and have had like some really rich like encounters and conversations, and I've also found like some really cool like secondhand like vintage purchases at a couple of different shops, and I made some of the most incredible new friendships last night. Very happenstance, and just kind of right place, right time kind of a thing. Like was fully intending to go to one spot, and ended up running into my two new friends, Audrey and Mackenzie, and had asked them a question about the place where they were at, like if it was open, because I didn't think it was. And they were like, it absolutely is. Like there's this bar crawl situation going on. And then they gave me this intel that the other place that I was intending to go to, which I thought was like the only place still open for food, that their kitchen was down. So I would have just been completely lost in the sauce had I not run into them. So that in and of itself was beautiful, helpful, gorgeous. Hello, thank you. But then just to add to that, they fully like welcomed and like enveloped me like into their community and their friend group, and it was just a really magical experience. Really cool to see and experience this town from their perspectives, and to just get that kind of different kind of like small town feel. I don't think I've ever experienced anything quite like that before, and it felt like pure magic. Like it was really good. Really good vibes, really good people. Highly recommend visiting Ludlow, Kentucky if you're ever adjacent. Also, really absolutely loved my new friend, Kalina, who recently opened her shop right near to where I was staying, and she just opened it like a week or two ago, like very fresh. But again, like very small town, but I got so lucky, like even with the snow, that I just happened upon like these little opportunities and avenues to make connections, but then to also see like really cool stuff going on. Like she has this really amazing space where she has like vintage clothes that she has really thoughtfully and like lovingly put together and organized, and different trinkets and candles that she's made, like the jelly kinds. Like she has these really cool videos that have gone viral on TikTok, and she also makes candles in teacups. Like really just cool, and like very like creative mind. Like very cool to see her space and find some things there. And so I did some shopping with her first thing Friday, after I did a little bit of like exploring down by the water and just kind of being in nature just to ground like as I settled in. And then I got to meet her and see her store, which I was thrilled that she was still open. And it was just her and I for, I think, like the 2 hours that I spent there Friday evening. And then I went and explored a little bit of downtown Covington, which is just like the town over, and had dinner there, which was lovely. Did a quick FaceTime with my family. Yeah, Saturday I went to the coffee shop in town in Ludlow and met James, who's just this like amazing almost feature of the community. It seems like everybody really seems to adore him, and so he has this coffee shop that he started a couple years ago. I think both he and Kalina came from corporate backgrounds, so like really cool and inspiring to see people like doing their things and pursuing like their things and succeeding in that. I think a couple questions, or a question that I asked both of them, maybe in different ways, was something around like, you know, recognizing these might not be the perfect words for it, but like, how did you get the courage? Like, what gave you like the push to like do your own thing? And it was just really cool, like, to hear about like their process and the approach that they took like in their own like respective journeys. So just all around like really amazing times. And then on Saturday around noon, actually a little bit before, maybe like 11ish, we started to get snow. So that was really pretty to start to see. And then I made my way like back closer to where I was staying in town, like all very close together. The place where I was staying was this Airbnb, and it was just like so cute. I feel like I almost just like stepped into like a fairy tale like over the weekend. Like, it was such a vibe. I got this one like almost corset top and skirt from Kalina that like is a very like fairy kind of vibe, and so that like paired with where I was staying was just like so good. So I really was able to just like enjoy some time like being in the space and like just being, and yeah, it really just felt good. And so I hung out there for a little bit, and then I went to Shauna's store. So Shauna is a woman who has another like secondhand vintage shop across the street from Kalina's, and hers is called Secret Sister. And just another like amazing collection, like so thoughtful. Just now as I was checking into my hotel here, I was chatting with the woman at the front desk, and we were talking about like, you know, secondhand shopping and things like that, and she was sharing how her daughter had like a negative experience, like just like sifting through stuff one time at I don't know if it was like a Plato's Closet or a Goodwill or what it was, but it's just like, yeah, like it's easy to get overwhelmed like anywhere like that, like even like not a secondhand store, but just like a Ross or a Marshall's, like that can be overwhelming too. But just the way that Kalina and Shauna have like so thoughtfully curated their stores and put everything together, like it really was like fully chef's kiss, like so good. I just fully got lost in both of their stores. And yeah, it was really lovely. Secondhand shopping in this area is a gorgeous vibe. Highly recommend. Good stuff here. So much so that I now need to figure out how to ship some stuff home. So I'm again feeling the feeling of Miss Girl, like you could have just driven, like that was a viable option. You just didn't think about it because you weren't thinking that Cincinnati is only 4.5 hours away from Chicago. You just weren't thinking about that because you've never been here before. So anyways, all of that, those are all kind of my like shopping and like those sorts of updates. I also wanted to share, I guess, too, I popped into this one art studio yesterday, and this is like right across from where I'm staying, or I was staying in town. It's this artist, his name is Tom Gaither, and I think he said that he has the oldest studio in Kentucky, or he's had his studio longer than anybody else in Kentucky, something like that. Like, he's had his studio for 54 years. He started it, he didn't know how old he was when he started it, but we did the math. He started it when he was 29, and his daughter she was just 3 weeks old. I think he had a son already. So 2 little kiddos. And I think he had been in the service and done a couple other things, and then like started his career as an artist. And he's this amazing painter and has this brilliant studio. And we just I think he didn't realize I was in the studio for, I don't know, 5-10 or so minutes. I was able to just kind of like look around and really admire like his space and his craft. And then when he realized I was in there, we kind of got to chatting for a little while, and it was quite lovely. Really cool just to hear his perspective on a number of different things. I actually ended up jotting a couple notes while we were chatting. Sometimes I do this, and I kind of explain like, and now I'm like thinking about this too, like, where does this come from? Like, is this newer for me? Like, I mean, it's definitely newer, like in the last couple of years that I do this, but I'm like, is this from like trauma, like impacting my brain differently, that I think and remember things differently? And or is it a new tool that I'm using just in general to remember things better? Is this just a normal thing that like people do and can do? And or is it something that I've started to do to kind of like adapt? And is it a workaround, or is it a tool, or does it not matter? Maybe it doesn't matter. Anyways, a lot of times I think this is just a normal thing a lot, but I do know that trauma fragments memory, and my memory, it feels different sometimes compared to how it has felt in years past. I know when I was going through a lot of the mental health challenges that I experienced in early 2023, I remember at one point, I don't know what it was that I don't know what it was because I don't remember, but and I think it's normal. I think it's normal to not remember everything, but I think my dad had said something about like, you know, you've done X, Y, and Z, like you have your PhD, like all these things. And I was like, see, but that's the weird thing. Like, I don't know who you're talking about. Like, I don't know who that person is. Like, I don't remember that version of me. Like, anyways, we're a little bit off track. Circling back around to this Thomas, because my dad's name is also Tom. But okay, so Tom Gaither, we were chatting about art and AI and just how things are changing, and it was fascinating. We had this conversation. He used the term condo art, which is not something I'd ever heard before, but it's kind of this notion of like someone buys a place and they literally just need to put art on the walls. Like, you can imagine this like in a hotel, like, for instance, like no one cared about that piece. Like, that piece didn't make anybody feel any particular kind of way, other than like, I mean, it doesn't even necessarily go with the room, if I'm being honest, but I mean, I guess it sort of kind of like potentially goes with those pieces. So it made me reflect on like how I've consumed or not consumed art, or interacted with art or not interacted with art throughout my life. Some of the things that Tom shared with me is how we've changed like as a society. Like, I had mentioned how like, do you feel like this notion of condo art, like, do you think it points to like a bigger phenomenon of like disconnection, like from ourselves, from each other, from our environments. And he had shared how, like, you know, there was a point in time where like no one could really consider themselves like educated without having, you know, dabbled in like some form of an expression of art and literature and just these different areas, like just enough to know you don't know everything, like just enough to have like an appreciation and understanding, and be able to thoughtfully consume and interact like with those medias, versus today. My perception, not his words, but my perception is like there's almost a strange like barrier to entry with a lot of this stuff. Like it almost feels like a lot of times like you need a class to understand X, Y, and Z. And yes, like, you know, there is this notion of like knowledge builds upon itself, and there's like prerequisite information to understand further information. But it feels like we've embedded these gates almost that not a lot of people seem to be freely able to pass through or feel like they're able to explore. And it's like, it's almost like I am speaking for myself a little bit, like there have been times where I feel like I haven't sensed a felt permission to engage in something unless I had confidence or certainty that I'd be good at it, or that it would be a useful use of my time. Like, for example, if it could become like a side hustle. I think I've talked about that in like a different video here, of like just this like busyness and work nature, and like very like, I think it's a very like American like way of being, of like wanting to work really hard, get ahead, like the whole like American dream, and like put money away, and like, okay, like you're working your full-time job, like what can you do extra, like what can you make passively? And like, I think I've said it before, I'll say it again, like I think financial literacy is really important and really good, and there's a place for it. And I think perhaps we've gone too far. I think perhaps like, have we lost the plot? Like I just wonder. Like it just seems like we're moving so fast, and like just these random directions, and like what is it really getting us? Like I don't know. I personally feel a call to slow down and appreciate basic things, even if I don't understand them yet, because that's how you start to understand them. Yeah, I think a quote of one thing that he said, and I can't remember specifically what it was about, but it kind of applies to this, is he said something about like, whether it's right or wrong, you can't just quit doing things. Like you have to explore. Lastly, I'll share, and this one I'm still digesting, I'm still chewing on. So I think in part the purpose of me wanting to like pop in here and like make this video is like, I want to be open and flexible, and like I want to be able to share like during my process. I feel like I've felt a tension at times of like wanting to wait until something is like fully baked, and like then I can deliver on this pretty platter. But I've kind of realized like that doesn't exist, like that's not really real. And I think like the process is the process, and these are my thoughts right now. They absolutely might change, but I'm simply just documenting how I feel today, right now, December 14th, 2025. This is the vibe. And so, yeah, this thing that I'm still chewing on, and I will probably continue chewing on for a while, thank you, Tom, is this notion. So I was sharing with him kind of my season of sabbatical, and how, you know, I'm writing question mark. kind of writing. I'm kind of writing a book, sort of. It's a project. It's something I've started. It could be a book. It could be something else. And it's kind of like an archival effort of like understanding and like unearthing like the things that have like gone on in my life and that have made me like into who I am. And it's so interesting. Yeah, I'm still chewing on this. But yeah, and I didn't think I even shared like any detail at all of like what sorts of things went on, but his frank feedback was something about like looking back is a double-edged sword, and his advice was to start right now and to start anew. And if I'm being so real, so honest, so frank, it was kind of hard to hear, and it echoed some things that I've been feeling too, of like, yeah, I am looking back. I do now more than ever before feel like I have the courage and capacity to remember and integrate parts and pieces of my experiences. And so, yeah, like I am looking back, and I don't want to get stuck there. Like, I don't live there anymore. Like, I live here. Like, I'm here. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what the future looks like. I know I'm not going backwards. My intention is not to ruminate on the past. And I do think there are ways in which I still feel, at this point in time, Sunday, December 14th, I still feel some level of need to make sense out of the things that have gone on. When everything transpired, it was just a lot for my brain and my system. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. I wouldn't wish any of that on anybody else. I mean, it has made me who I am, and I'm so grateful those things happened as they did, and I don't feel like they could have happened any other way, but it was tremendously stressful and disorienting and destabilizing, and I'm still piecing it together 3 years later. So yeah, my intention is not to get stuck in the past, not to make an idol or an altar at the past's feet, but to kind of look at it with reverence and love and respect. I almost feel like I'm composting. Composting has been on my mind recently. But I feel like there are things that I've just not fully integrated. And I think that's what this work is. I'm allowing the process to unfold naturally and to go slowly, and kind of trusting in the notion that this will be whatever it's meant to be, and it will take whatever form it's meant to take. So while I do dearly appreciate his words of advice, and I do find deep meaning in them, I don't accept them fully as my truth of like, I'm not fully not looking back. There are ways that I wish I could just close my eyes, open them again, and start right now, start anew. And I recognize that the past is a very valuable teacher, and I think it would be unwise to not sit with her for the time that she is granting me. I think this is an opportunity, again, to not get stuck there, but to dance with it a little bit. I don't know. This is a very long video. I'm gonna wrap it here and go get some food, maybe some coffee, maybe a nap. We'll see. I might go to a comedy show this evening. I ran into a really cool comedian on Friday at the airport. We were both looking for our bags and we became airport buddies. And so he invited me to his show. So TBD if I have the energy to make it out to that tonight. But again, another like really, really cool interaction with like someone who has like fully pursued their creative path after he was I think in special education for a number of years, teaching in LA, and now really successful, doing his thing, right? Like I think we all have a thing. He and I talked about that a little bit. I think we all have a thing, and I'm like kind of warming up to mine. I don't know what it is quite yet, but like I'm getting to know it. I'm getting to explore my thing. I hope you do too. And I hope that you have a restful week ahead and stay very cozy if you got snow.